Hello, ladies, gentlemen, hello, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am your humble servant, the man who falls ill just about every 4 weeks, Mr. Warren Hayes. Thanking you all for joining me on a special recording, doing this live on a Sunday afternoon, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Because yeah, look, what are you gonna do? Life sometimes gets in the way of life. I think that's the best way to put it. And the fact that I don't know what to tell you, like. And again, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Look, I was sick. I had a really, really terrible, stomach flu. But the thing is like, it happens to everyone. But I feel like it happens to me a little too much on the reg. Like every 4 or 5 weeks. Like the last time this happened, I was in Wisconsin, like just a few weeks ago, about a month ago, I'd say. And it happened, and I remember distinctly, it happened on the Thursday before going to see Rampage at the United Center. So I was like, but now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling cool now, and I'm much more like myself. I'm feeling, and you know what the thing is that there was too much stuff this week that I felt that I wanted to talk about, like the Arthur Ashe shows, for instance. I'm like, look, I cannot just sit around and be like, well, all of this just passed me by. No. I gotta jump on and I gotta do something, and I'm at least gonna do something here. Sunday afternoon, live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, a little before Extreme Rules, the offering from World Wrestling Entertainment. So, I figured we'll talk about WWE at the same time. We'll have some thoughts on the pay-per-view. We'll recap the week that happened with AEW. And that'll be just nice. It'll be a nice way to just get back into things and to say thank you for everyone for being so goddamn patient with me and my stupid physical things. I mean, it's the kind. But here's what I'm thinking, okay? And I think there's a direct correlation here. Because, look, as I mentioned, when we started this off, I said, remember a few weeks ago, like the last time I got this kind of stomach flu, I was in Wisconsin. It was on the Thursday before the Rampage at the United Center, the return of CM Punk, right? And now I'm here. I got sick on the week of the Arthur Ashe shows. So what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, that somehow, whenever AEW puts on a really big show, it gets me sick. I come down with something. I contract some kind of virus. And which is weird. Like, I don't know. It's as if AEW doesn't want me to talk about their stuff, which is weird because everyone knows I'm on the payroll. I haven't memed about that in a while. Good. But it feels good to do that. Feels good to be here. Feels good to see everyone joining me live here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because yes, I am doing this live. I usually do this on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're popping in here for the first time and like, hey, is this guy doing this on Sundays? No, I do this on Thursdays usually. Subscribe. That'd be nice. Or at least give me a chance to earn your subscription. I like to think I earn people's subscriptions. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining me here today. Folks like Aaron World Order, formerly known as Aaron Entertainment, AWO. Good to see you, Aaron. Thank you. And yes, I am doing better. Thank you for asking. Thomas Gories is here as well. Nice to see you. Hey, Dan Reed of Pro Wrestling Eve. My God, man. Look at us. Both of us. Like ill. Hope you're doing okay, man. Hope it's nothing too serious. My thoughts are all the way over to you. I want to say hello to D-Star as well. Nice to see you. Joe Hansen. Yeah, maybe I am allergic to people named Phil. That could be. I mean, all theories are open right now. So, We don't know what's going on. But I want to thank everyone for joining me live here right now. And if you're listening right now, give the video a thumbs up. Share it out into the world. That kind of stuff always helps. It's always cool. It's always fun. And if you're watching this on demand later on or on your favorite podcast application, so show some love as well. On YouTube, the likes, that kind of stuff, that really helps out. Some comments in the comment section, that also helps out. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because yes, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available in podcast format, and I'm going to put this out in a podcast format, then I appreciate it. I appreciate it a great deal. And drop us a review, a like, a subscription, a follow, whatever you can do on your favorite podcast app to show some love. That kind of stuff is smoochers. Fantastic. So yeah, there you go. So all that is fantastic. Of course, can continue to follow Bell to Bells. That's your Women's Wrestling Wire, right? For women's wrestling coverage, BELLTOBELLEES.com, or follow us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Bell to Bells. Still pumping out interviews for the PWI 500. The women who showed up on the PWI 500. The interviews are still going out. We still got a bunch more to come. Go check that out. It's amazing stuff. It's fantastic. Subscribe there as well. And there's going to be even more stuff coming. PWI Women's 150 is coming out. We're planning some stuff. Should be special. I'm excited. To share that all with you. So that's coming. And also, I am in it's G1 season. I'm not going to talk about the G1 today because I wouldn't say daily, but every 2 days, bi-daily, every 48 hours. Look, every time there's two blocks, every time block A and block B come together to do a thing, I come together and do a thing and sit down and I cover the G1 every 2 nights, basically. I do a recap, a report. If you're excited about the G, and you know what, I can understand. If you're usually into New Japan and you've found that New Japan since the pandemic has been rough, it's been a tough watch, you feel like the promotion's been snake bitten, it hasn't been holding your attention, and I get it. But the G1 season, man, I'm going to tell you, G1 season always brings out the best in New Japan. And despite the fact that even myself, I found the last few months to be extremely tedious, the G1 is off to a rousing start. Please, if you're even moderately interested, I think it's really, really good. If you're new to New Japan, I don't know if this is like the best time to jump in. Like, it's not one of these G1s where it's like, yeah, man, jump in, It's like, but, good stuff. It's good. Good stuff happening in the G1 right now. And if you want to just get some recaps, you don't have time to watch, subscribe to me. Subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I even got a little playlist set up where you can go check out my G1 recaps. It's good. It's good. I am feeling better. I was just looking at my drink on camera, and yeah, I was just looking at my projector here. I was like, this kind of looks like urine, but it's actually ginger ale, and not Canada Dry ginger ale. Not that kind of stuff, because there's no real ginger in ginger ale. In Canada Dry ginger ale. Did you know that? And there was actually a guy who sued Canada Dry, and he won because he was like under the impression that that there was ginger in it, that it would help his digestion. But there's no ginger in Canada Dry ginger ale. I've got like this, micro-brewed kind of thing, and it really packs a punch. And because ginger is good for your digestion, so it's really settling everything inside. It's feeling good. Whiskey water. No, it's not whiskey. I don't drink much. I don't drink when I stream, period. I don't. Never any alcohol. Sober as a goose. Isn't that the expression? But thank you, everyone, for joining today. And don't forget, there's a Discord. Link is in the description, and you'll also see it popping up in the live chat if you're here as well. But join the Discord. Come and join us for Extreme Rules tonight. It's going to be a good time. And if you're up to it, you can also become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. And it's a good deal if you want to come join us. If you like coming to join us on a live basis. then it's fantastic because you actually get to have access to a bunch of emotes, exclusive emotes. Plus, you get the post stream that I usually do on Thursday nights. After the main stream, I do a stream just for the members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel that can then pop in, and then we sit around and we talk wrestling. I take calls from the Discord, interact with the live chat. It's a good time. You know what else is a good time? The weekly wrestling inspection. I want to say hello to You Know the Deal, who is in the chat. Good to see you. And Connor McCabe. Nice to see you. Welcome, 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 everyone. Why don't we start talking? Look, before we get into, I don't know how long the stream is going to be. And this is always something like when I talk with Kristen, of course, Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. You know, I said, oh, yeah, I'm just going to pop on a little stream. You know, I'm just going to talk about just a couple of things. It shouldn't be too long. I probably won't go 2 hours, Chris. And she sort of goes, yeah, I know. But I always come in with the best intentions. Trust me, folks. It's always the best intentions. Like, I don't think, because this is what, look, I'll already plot this out for you, okay? I'm going to start by talking about the Arthur Ashe thing, okay? The Arthur Ashe show. So if you're listening to this later, you know, then you'll be able to just focus on this. Because if you're listening to this on demand, there's no point of you listening to my Extreme Rules predictions, which we're going to do after. So I'm going to get the somewhat more evergreen content. I mean, because it's not evergreen content. Not everyone's going to be talking about the Arthur Ashe shows like for years. Well, you know what I mean. It's not timeless, is what I'm saying. But I think the predictions, we'll do them at the latter half, and I'm excited to see what you guys and gals and everyone in between in the chat has to think about Extreme Rules tonight, because controversial card, maybe. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a I wouldn't say it's a universally acclaimed card so far, for a bunch of reasons, But before we get into Arthur Ashe, before we get into Extreme Rules, those are going to be the two main subjects. Going to talk about the Owen Hart tribute tournament that I want to touch on, because look, I'm going to tell you, as many of you know, I'm Canadian, still live in Canada, wouldn't want to go anywhere else. I love this place. I really do. And as a longtime wrestling fan, I think it's, Bret Hart, it's hard to underscore how woven into the fabric of this country Bret Hart and the Hart family is. Like, he is somewhat of a national treasure, right? So the Owen Hart stuff is always something, is always something to, the whole Owen Hart situation is something that still resonates very, very deeply for a lot of us here, and even for non-wrestling fans. So when AEW came out earlier this week, or last week at this point, and said that they were working with the Owen Hart Foundation to create the Owen Hart Cup tournament, I got emotional. There's something that just it quivered in me, for lack of a better descriptive, and I was like, Jesus, it's such good news, and in a business that has the uncanny capability of being so effectively disheartening at times when when secrets come to the forefront, when you just following the dark side of the ring docs and so on. For a business that consistently delivers bad tidings and disheartening moments. There was something very, very, very good about this news here, because getting Owen Hart back into professional wrestling. See, look at how I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. But getting Owen Hart back into professional wrestling as a on a large stage. There's something fantastically full circle about it. But one thing at a time here. I want to say hello to Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling. Conrad, thank you for popping in. And David Hawley, good to see you. I'm going to read this. It's off of the Wrestling Observer online. AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation announced a new partnership on Monday, which will include the creation of the Owen Hart Cup Tournament. The collaboration will also include production and distribution of unique and original Owen Hart merchandise like action figures, apparel posters, and other collectibles, and inclusion in the upcoming AEW console video game. The tournament will see the creation of a cup they are calling the Owen. I've read this so many times, and I still get the same. Created in 2000 and run by Owen's wife Martha, the nonprofit foundation provides global aid to at-risk communities with scholarships, housing, food drives, backpack giveaways, and more. Tony Khan said in the press release that AEW's relationship with the Hart family dates back to our inaugural pay-per-view event, Double or Nothing, in 2019, and Owen's influence is still felt today. To extend his memory and his legacy even further through this agreement is a powerful and meaningful moment for the entire wrestling community. And you know what? Usually these types of I in my shoot job, I'm a PR guy, right? So I read releases, and I know these statements are always kind of boilerplate, but I don't think there's anything that rings more true, despite the fact that they're just basic statements for a press release. I think it's absolutely right. Martha in the statement said as well, the Owen Hart Foundation is extremely pleased to partner with AEW in this wonderful joint venture to honor Owen's substantial international wrestling career and the lasting influence he and his craft has had in the sport. AEW's Owen Hart Cup Tournament serves as a tremendous tribute to Owen and provides an incredible way for professional wrestling enthusiasts to celebrate his work in a most fitting way. We trust Tony Khan and his amazing AEW team will do a brilliant job with this highly anticipated project. So, look, Owen Hart is unquestionably, and one of the most influential wrestlers to have ever done it in North America, and I think this is bar none. I don't think there's anything. I don't think you can find any type of argument against it. Everything that he was doing at the time helped set the tone for a bunch of for how we perceive wrestling today, or how it's even evolved. We've said it. Many people have said it a million times, including myself. I think if Owen had been around, still with us in the early 2000s, I think he would have had a legitimate career resurgence. As the Eddie Guerreros and the Chris Benoits and the Rey Mysterios, as they all started piling into WWE, he would have just exploded on an entirely different level. So that's fantastic. So notwithstanding, all the terrible stuff, I am so thrilled that we as fans get a chance to just bask in Owen's legacy in the way that his widow wants him to be remembered. And this is important. And this is where we separate I want to be careful here. This is where we separate people who understand the entire saga versus people who are just blind to it. I'll keep it at that. There is absolutely no reason, and I completely endorse the years and years and years of Martha not wanting to work with WWE. No reason why they wouldn't, why she should do it. No reason why that was the place for her to no reason for her to let WWE be the place or handle Owen's legacy moving forward. And I think that if we are able to do this with AEW, with Tony Khan, and if Martha feels comfortable about doing this, and I don't want to sound like a complete shill here, because as you know, I'm on the payroll. There is no way this celebration of Owen Hart would happen if we did not have a second national promotion, nationally televised touring promotion like AEW. It just would not have happened. It would not be there. And I know a lot of people seem to, a lot of people will go out and say, well, Tony Khan, all he is, he's a mark. He's a money mark. Just a guy, who used to read The Observer, and now, he's running a promotion, and look at all this. He's just doing these things because he can. And they're trying to make these sound like they're shots, but they're not shots. Of course, he's got the money to do it. Let him do it. And if he's finding some measure of pleasure as a wrestling fan first and foremost, well, good for him. This is a business move. I'm not stupid. I understand what kind of public relations move this also is for AEW, because on one hand, yes, there is the fan service, but I also understand that he's doing good by a wrestling legacy that has been held back because of the one company that was still there that mismanaged Owen to begin with and put him down the path that we ultimately ended up on. Lost my train of thought. If Tony Khan is in a position to provide this space so that Owen's legacy can continue to live on, good. I got people. I saw people saying the only place that Owen Hart should be celebrated is the WWE because that's where he rose to prominence. That's his home promotion. Anywhere else is just people wanting to capitalize off his legacy. As if WWE wouldn't capitalize off his legacy. They know exactly what they were trying to do. They reached out multiple times, unquestionably, to Martha to get him back into the Hall of Fame, to do stuff. She consistently shut them down. Why? Because she feels that they were involved, that their neglect led to the death of their husband in an unnecessary stunt, excuse me. I don't think she's entirely wrong. Especially if you read the police reports. We don't know what came out of that lawsuit. We don't know. We'll never know. But kudos to Martha Hart for sticking to her guns for nearly almost 2 decades at this point. No, more than 2 decades. He passed away in 1999. Over 2 decades of fans wanting Owen to have a proper tribute, to be a part of the Hall of Fame, and her holding her ground despite all the spiteful little bastards out there calling her names, trying to bring her down, saying that she's keeping Owen's legacy hostage, that it belongs to the fan. It doesn't belong to anyone except her and her family, his kids, their kids. It was always her prerogative to have us celebrate Owen in whichever way she felt benefited him most. And she held out over 2 decades of one company holding the entire wrestling business hostage to the point to this day, we still have people calling Martha Hart spiteful. That she's a money grabber now. No, she just wants the money. Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she want this to benefit a foundation that she created on to the memory of her husband? Why wouldn't she want to do this? People are absurd. And if we're going to get a tournament out of this, I'm going to try and bring this down a little lighter. If we're going to get a tournament out of this, I'm excited. Why wouldn't you be excited for a tournament? I love tournament wrestling. And you know what? I hope, and I know in AEW there are no weight classes, and I still applaud that. We don't do away with the weight classes. It adds a layer of complexity and stupid to any type of proceeding. But if we get, I'm going to tell you what my hope for the Owen Hart Cup tournament would be. A Best of Super Junior style. And what an absolutely fantastic time in wrestling to be able to put on this type of tournament where you can literally, forbidden doors open everywhere. You can literally pick and choose from wherever. AEW's relationships with Impact and New Japan and AAA and the Indies, they could pull up people from anywhere. Yes, showcase their stars, but then bring in people from elsewhere to participate in this tournament, this legacy tournament. Have them come up and let them be cruiserweights, light heavyweights, whatever you want to call them. Let them be people who represent the style of wrestling that Owen knew so well. I won't throw a fit if they decide to toss in heavyweights. It's fine. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to hold court on this, but what I'd like is a Best of Super Juniors like tournament. If I'm getting greedy, let's make it a round robin. Let's go all out. But a real celebration of the style of wrestling that Owen created. And again, this is good news. This is good news for wrestling fans. And if you are unable to see past this happening in AEW, AEW, they weren't even around when Owen was around, or that bullshit, quite possibly your favorite wrestling promotion, if it's not WWE, WWF, your favorite wrestling promotion wasn't around. Period. Like, not TNA wasn't around. WCW is dead. Your favorite wrestling promotion active right now doesn't exist anymore. It's good for fans. It's good for Martha. It's good for AEW. And you know what? The vindictive side of me is like, good. Let's stick it to Vince. Please. Let's go ahead and stick it to Vince. He keeps telling us. He's been telling us for how long now that what he does is sports entertainment. It ain't pro wrestling. Fantastic. So let the pro wrestlers and let the pro wrestling fans have their pro wrestling moments then. Man, I was especially passionate about that little subject. Excuse me. And I can't wait to see how this is going to develop. I'm really excited. Let's start talking about AEW Grand Slam, Dynamite, Rampage. It was a pay-per-view week of wrestling in AEW this weekend. Again, I don't know how you can't get excited about that. Here's the thing that I like the most about these shows. This is the thing I like the most about these shows. I saw 2 wrestling shows, AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage, mostly composed of wrestling, with the shenanigans and the promos and the cuts, the scenes and the backstage promos and the vignettes, all down to a bare minimum. To the point where 61% of AEW Dynamite was nothing but pro wrestling. Out of the 2 hours of programming, 61% of it was all wrestling. 59% of Rampage was all wrestling. Those are huge proportions of bell-to-bell action taking up that part that much. You'll usually have AEW around, I'd say, like 35 to 40%. You'll have Rampage around 41, 42% of the show being made up of wrestling, and then you'll have promos, you'll have vignettes, whatnot, and so 61% of the 2 hours on Wednesday was reserved for pro wrestling. Just bell-to-bell action. 59% of the 2 hours on Friday. That to me is exciting. Right then and there, I'm like, well, that's why I watch wrestling. I don't watch wrestling for 15 minutes of wrestling in a 2-hour show. That's not why I watch it. I watch anything else on that accord. That's exciting. And we got such a great event. The number is still, I don't think, and chat, you can help me out here if you want, please do. I think that there hasn't been like an exact number of ticket sales confirmed yet. I think like we're close. Some people are saying that we're close to 20,000. I know, like on the show, they said that it was over 20,000, like close to 21,000. But they could be, embellishing the numbers, and I have no problem with them embellishing numbers either. I really don't. Every wrestling promotion in the history of the world has embellished wrestling attendance. So I'm okay with that. That's not a problem. But I'd like to, I'm really, really curious to see, what's the real attendance. But I mean, that place was packed. There was just wall-to-wall people in that stadium. And that has to feel good. That has to feel good for, AEW to be able to go into New York City. And we can't underscore this enough. And if you want a really good breakdown of how quintessential this thing is, Joe Lanza over on Voices of Wrestling really goes in on how important, how significant, I should say, AEW moving into New York City, WWE's territory, moving in and selling out a stadium, how significant that is. Because WWE should be able to move in to any venue in New York, which is their territory. It belongs to them. New York City is World Wrestling Federation. This is what it is. Bruno Sammartino. It is Pedro Morales. It's Vince McMahon Sr. It's Vince McMahon Jr. It's Madison Square Garden on the day before Christmas. It's that kind of shit. Madison Square Garden was built along with the WWE. WWF. It's a significant milestone, and do not discard this. Don't poo-poo this. It's a big deal for them to come in and be like, tennis stadium, 20,000 people, let's do it. Whereas WWE has their Madison Square Garden show and they have to call in John Cena to fill out the rest of the building. Like, don't kid yourselves. It's a big deal. You know what else is a big deal? Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Yeah. It says she's only been a member for 17 months, but you've been a member of my heart for much longer. How about that? Anyway, big week for Dynamite. I'm excited. I want to talk about this. Of course. Brian Danielson, the American Dragon, versus Kenny Omega, the Canadian guy. You should have come up with a little something, right? A little counter to the American Dragon. Anyway, I'm already overstepping here. Opened up the show as a lot of people sort of predicted. I think I'm on record on stream saying, if not on stream, I'm pretty sure we had talked about it in the Discord. I was like, look, if I'm AEW, I'm opening with Kenny Omega and Brian Danielson, because then after that you're taping 2 hours of Rampage, right? So you still have the rest. You have a whole other card, and that's what they did. And look. At this point, what more can we say about this match that hasn't been said already? It was absolutely brilliant. And you've got something special on your hands. You have something special on your hands when your wrestlers are standing face to face in the ring and the bell rings and the crowd pops. The crowd jumps up out of their seats and they're excited. They're stoked. You know you've done something right. This is a legitimate dream match. I don't know what to tell you. There is no way to cut this. This is something that 8 months ago was still an impossibility, was something that we were like, this is not going to happen. In June this year. No, April this year. What am I talking about? In April this year, Daniel Bryan was in the main event of WrestleMania. There was no fathomable way for any wrestling fan to be like, Omega, Danielson, it's happening this year. And here we are, but here we got it. Live for us. And you'll have everyone say, and this is insane. You'll have, not everyone, but you'll have a bunch of people who are going to be sitting around moping about this, saying, no reason to have kept this, they should have kept this for a pay-per-view. And the question is, why? Why? Buys for the pay-per-view. Not anymore. Welcome to 2021, when television promotions, when any live broadcast actually is making money off of licensing content. That's how they're making their money these days. WWE is not making money touring. Touring for WWE has been a money sink. You look at all of their reports, all of their quarterly earnings that they'd been putting out pre-pandemic. The live shows were all tanking. That's not how you're making your money these days. You're making money by selling your content to Fox, who's going to give you $250 million a year for 4 years. And how much more to Peacock than to USA? You have to put the ratings grabbers, you have to show that you have a hot program on your hands so that you can sit down and renegotiate when it's time to negotiate or renegotiate, because AEW's already renegotiated their contract like twice since it started. Sit down and show them that you're a draw, that it's working, and this is the amount that you have to be shelling out. Just give me this money. All Out, with the return of CM Punk, did what? 200,000 buys, if I'm not mistaken? And that's with a big attraction. And good for that. I think it's their highest grossing pay-per-view of all time. All Out this year, I think, or the second. Sorry if I can't remember. But it's top two. Flip this around. 200,000 buys. At what, like $60 a pop? It's a nice chunk of change, but you're not running a promotion on it. Especially when you're only doing 4 a year. And do you not see it? Do you not get it? They're not running 12 pay-per-views a year. They're running 1 per quarter. Why? Because they want their television to be the centerpiece of what they're doing, because that's where the money is. They're going to run the pay-per-views so that they can get that pay-per-view revenue, because wrestling fans are used to doing it. Combat fight fans are used to buying pay-per-views. That's fine. There's a reason why they're just running 4 shows a year instead of the 12 that WWE does, because it's not part of their value package. It's extra for them. They want to focus on TV. And you know what? It's been working. Good ratings, good returns. The show looks hot. It comes across as hot. And goddamn, they give us Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega to open up the show on Wednesday night live. 30-minute draw. Fantastic match. And I know the discourse this week was like, I can't believe that Daniel Bryan finally gets a 5-star match. Look, here's the thing. Daniel Bryan has wrestled some fantastic matches in WWE, but you must never, ever, ever forget that he has always been wrestling a WWE style during this period. On the big stages where he was on, he was always wrestling the WWE style, which inherently hampered his own style, the American Dragon style. And do you want proof of that? What do you mean, Warren? His style was hampered by WWE? How do you know for sure? Look at the way he wrestled last Wednesday and tell me he wasn't neutered during his entire tenure in WWE, first and foremost. Second of all, I am of the belief that even when he was undeniable, no one in WWE wanted Daniel Bryan to be on top. Nobody wanted him to be the guy. Great wrestler, nice little guy, but to be the top guy, no one really wanted it. No one really believed in him. If they believed in him, if they really did believe in Daniel Bryan, they wouldn't have had him. They wouldn't have had him return from his retirement, his injury. They wouldn't have had him return to team up with Shane McMahon and have his first feud against Big Cass. For fuck's sake. And I was part of this group, and I will completely be there. Completely re-immerse myself back then. Where we're like, finally, we're gonna get all these exciting WWE matches that we thought we'd never get. We'll get Daniel Bryan and Roman at the top of their game. We're gonna get Daniel Bryan and Brock, which we did, but and they never came to pass. Never as big deals. Daniel Bryan was never a big deal upon his return. And even when he was at the top and wrestling at WrestleMania, he was never given the opportunity to shine on the big stages, on the big shows, meaningful and have drama to them. You cannot outweigh the importance of this match in this man's career, which adds to the prestige of it. Star ratings they're so subjective regardless. But the discourse around this, where people don't understand, is it why? Of course, Dave Meltzer's going to give him 5 stars because he's no longer in WWE. Look, they're not entirely wrong, but not for the reasons you think. Not because Dave hates WWE, that kind of discourse. He was never given proper room to shine like he did. That's the thing. And look at what happened here. Like, if we had the American Dragon, we had so many callbacks to the Daniel Bryan that many contemporary fans have never been acquainted with. He did the I have till 5 thing. When he was, I don't remember when he had Kenny Omega. Was he fish hooking him? I don't know. Or he was pulling on his face. And the referee was counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Brian releases the hold. And he tells the referee, I have till 5. And I popped. I was like, Jesus, it's the American Dragon. Like, even before he pulled out cattle mutilation. And so I'm like, this is it. And it's not a smiling, happy Bryan Danielson. And I know I've been saying Daniel Bryan, and I'm sorry, I'm just getting excited, and it still hasn't entered my brain space yet that Daniel Bryan doesn't exist anymore, that we're back to Bryan Danielson. Even before he started pulling out his moves from the day, I'm like, look at him go. Look at that extra aggressiveness that is into everything he's doing. We are in the presence of the American Dragon. He's back. This is the guy that tore it up in Ring of Honor, that had people screaming that this is a generational talent. This is one of the greatest wrestlers to ever do it. And he's back, and he's on a stage where he can do it against a guy who can keep up with him and challenge him and bring the best out of him at the same time. 2 of the best fucking wrestlers in the world today going at it on free TV. Whether you want to give it 5 stars or 3.5, whether you like Kenny Omega or you don't. And it goes to a draw. And of course it's going to go to a draw. Because of course it's going to go to a draw. Why wouldn't it? You know what? Because you don't bury your world champion to begin with. You don't have him lose a non-title match. There's only one other promotion that thinks that's a good idea, that creates heat for some reason. You don't do that. You protect your champ. But you create something else. You create doubt. Now you set the stage for the eventual rematch that everyone is going to be stoked for, and it's going to be for the title, and it's going to be an hour. There's going to be an hour time limit on top of it. Don't you dare tell me that you're not excited for it. Daniel Bryan comes in looking strong. He took Kenny Omega to his limit in a match that was all about just bravado. It was just all about who's better. I want to wrestle the best in the world. I heard that you're the best. Put up or shut up. I'm not putting my title up. I don't give a care. I don't give a care in the world if you're putting your title up or not. Kenworth Omega 10, I just want to fight you. All right, Brian of the Daniels, I will fight you. Much to the dismay of my business associate who thinks I shouldn't do it. And he probably should have taken that advice. Because now there's a seed of doubt. And not only is there a seed of doubt, you have an instant rematch that people will pay to see. That is how you book a pay-per-view. I still think Hangman Page is the guy who's going to take the title off of Kenny. Don't get me wrong. But if you have Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega go to a war, go in a 50-minute affair for the title, and Daniel Bryan loses, it's going to be glorious. What are you talking about? And I'm going to tell you, Kenny needs this kind of big-time feather in your cap title defense, because, you know, he's already beat Jon Moxley, you know, and he's, you know, he defeated Christian Cage. Yeah, that's cool. And he defeated Jungle Boy, and he's got all his little defenses, but not a lot of them have that instant prestige. You know, Christian Cage, cool and all, but he's not a Jon Moxley. He's not a Bryan Danielson. He's not a CM Punk. Kenny needs those before dropping the title, which in return will only help elevate more whoever does take the belt off of him. You see how you don't have to overthink pro wrestling for it to work. You don't, especially when you have talented people who can pull this shit off. Anyway, the match was great. I feel like I've talked about a whole bunch of things, but I mean, honestly, like, what else can we talk about the match other than, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. One of the greatest television matches ever put out there. It was so good. It was so good. Commentary was spot on. It was fantastic. And I think it lived up to it. Live crowd was nuts. What more do you want? MJF defeated Brian Pillman Jr. And I don't think anyone was expecting anything less here. Look, before that, CM Punk cut a promo, right? And I think that was a good idea. Because, like, I think, like, as far as setting up your card, it made a lot of sense for CM Punk to come out after that first match, because just throwing a match there would have been completely ungrateful. It just wouldn't have been cool at all. MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. then had a little time to breathe and collected things. This was fine. I mean, you know, the right man won. I don't see anything. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You know, Brian Pillman Jr. is the most okay wrestler to be in the position that he's in today. Like, I think he's good. He can still improve. He can still grow. He can still shock us. But as it stands right now, in the position he's in, fighting with MJF, who is, you know, the top heel of the company, really, it's like, all right, you know, I've expounded on this. I've, you know, talked about it. His last name is Pillman, so that's worth something. And I'm not saying that as a knock. That's to his advantage. You need an advantage to get yourself over, to move forward in the business. Good on him for leaning on his dad's lineage, right? That's fine. And, you know, like, as I've said before, strip away, you know, the Pillman name. This guy is called Stephen Blackburn. And Stephen Blackburn is not fighting MJF. You know, like, pound for pound, same type of guy, same wrestling, same mullet, same level of charisma. Steve, what did I call him? Joe Blackman. I don't remember. Blackburn. Joe Blackburn is not fighting MJF at Arthur Ashe Stadium. He's just not. Malachi Black defeated Cody Rhodes. Oh, and hello, Justin Firestein, and hello, Jamie Todd. Welcome to the chat. I will be going over Extreme Rules in just a few minutes. But thank you for being here, folks, and thank you for liking, subscribing, becoming a part of this channel, becoming a member. It's all fantastic. But here's something that took me by surprise. Malachi Black beating Cody Rhodes. And probably, look, I mean, these people know what's going on, right? The Malachi Black, I was convinced that Cody was going to do a Brody Lee here. Come back as a hero, as a savior, and take out Malachi Black and get his win back. But no, that's not quite what happened. Malachi Black got the mist out. He got all great kabuki on us. And sprayed Cody right in the face and got the win. And I was the first surprised about it. Now, there's some talking points here. Malachi Black is your biggest star in AEW right now. No, let me say that again. Not right. Malachi, sorry about that. Let's rewind here. Malachi Black is a bigger star in AEW right now than he ever was in WWE, and yes, I'm including NXT in this. Because here he is, comes in, murders the Andersons, plows through the roads, and that sounded weird. He crushes the roads, and he's effectively dismantling the Nightmare family bit by bit. And he goes into Arthur Ashe, and he beats Cody in an environment where everyone was like, Cody's gonna win. If you don't think, and I know, listen, I know that Cody is not everyone's cup of tea. And I get it. And I have a very strained relationship with Cody Rhodes. I mean, he doesn't know, but Cody has, if there's one thing you cannot take away from Cody Rhodes, is that he is putting guys over and making stars for his company. And I will beat this on the head. Continue beating this on the head. This is the guy who made Darby Allin into a star. This is the guy who opened the door so that Eddie Kingston could become an invariable part of our weekly wrestling experience. Bring in Malachi Black, make him a star. Bring in Brody Lee, make him a star. In ways that the other place somehow was too complicated to create. Malachi Black, Aleister Black in WWE had to sit down with Vince or whoever, and we're going to have a book, and it's going to be called Tales of the Father, and where I'm going to tell all these stories, and then I'm going to wear these glasses, and then through these stories, I'm going to do this shit. You've all heard the Twitch stream when he left about all the stories he had to pitch to try to get on TV. Look here. How about that? You want to get over in a wrestling promotion? Beat people up. Kick their ass. Go figure. Stoked that this was the result. Malachi Black, hot stuff. Now, the big discourse. Cody Rhodes, he's got to turn heel. The question is, I don't give a shit. And I think Cody doesn't give a shit either. I don't care if he turns heel. I don't think it adds anything if he does. What will that change for you? Cody got in the ring, got booed. Now everyone is like, proof positive no one likes Cody. Okay, whatever. Does that mean that he has to change what he's doing? What does Cody do that is so babyface-ish regardless, right? Outside of the fact that he dresses up in USA colors, right? Does that instantly make him a babyface? Because in the minds of a lot of people, the fact that he's draping himself in American symbolism, US symbolism, is doing the opposite, right? And look at when Cody Rhodes, he said it, that heels and babyfaces, that's passe. And he himself comes out of the middle. He doesn't come out of the babyface tunnel. He doesn't come out of the heel tunnel. He comes out straight the middle. You know who else comes out in the middle? Malachi Black. Is Malachi Black a heel? Because he got cheered. Does that mean does he have to turn babyface? Because he's getting cheered? And is he even a babyface? One would argue. Is he even a heel? The discourse over there are plenty of reasons to have Cody Rhodes discourse, in my opinion. I think there's more than enough. Lovely article over on Fanbyte that I read earlier this week on Cody Rhodes projecting himself as the affable CEO, the affable executive, I should say. Fantastic read. Great comparisons to Dusty and how they tried to relate to the fans. But I would definitely challenge anyone to just say, tell me what is so babyface-ish about Cody regardless. Is it because he plays up to the crowd? Because he's like, yeah. I see heels play up to the crowd too. What makes it what is it in Cody Rhodes' presentation right now will make him more successful if he were to turn heel or turn babyface, like whatever it is he is right now? Stay what he is, or how would that change anything that he's doing? How will that improve the experience for him? How will that make him, how will it help his opponents more? Because right now, he has the top track record for creating stars in AEW. Just throwing that out there. I mean, it's to the point where, look, Cody comes out. When he comes out, Arn Anderson comes out next from the babyface tunnel. Brandy shows up. Which tunnel did she come out from? And it makes sense. Cody's the neutral ground. Good and evil on either side. Fun little match they had too. Sting and Darby Allin defeating FTR. I want to get to Extreme Rules, so I'm going to run through this maybe a little faster here. Jesus, what a Sting, people. Sting. What the hell is Sting in 2021? 61-year-old Sting, 62-year-old Sting, working like whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? Stem cells. He's on. Maybe he called up Rey Mysterio and he's like, "Hey, Ray, hook me up with some of those stem cells. You ridiculous. Like, he should not be performing on that level, but yet there he is, going full force, doing things." Taking bumps. I mean, I agree. I concur. We haven't seen him like in a straight up singles match, really. It's always been in these tag situations, and you know what? That's fine. These are done by design. Maybe it's not a good idea to see Sting in a 15-minute one-on-one, right? But my God. Fun one, too. And you can only imagine how Dax and Cash, how excited they must have been to be in this match, being the old school guys that they were, right? Good stuff, man. Great stuff. And then we had the AEW Women's World Championship where Britt Baker successfully retained her title against Ruby Soho. I thought this match was fine. Nothing to write home about, but it was a good, solidly worked match by the women. I thought Britt looked extremely good. Ruby was fantastic as well. And they main evented the Dynamite part of it. What more do you want? Good for them. I thought it was a solid. I thought it was a very, very solid match. Of course, like I said, Britt retained. It's good stuff. DGMC here left us a super chat. And hello, DGMC, by the way. Left us a super chat. Says, got to talk about AEW security heat with Punk. Yeah, I'll be curious to see if CM Punk throws himself into the crowd again moving forward. I'm curious to... I don't know if he's going to do it again. Thank you very much for the super chat, DGMC. And then we had night 2, basically, of Grand Slam over on Rampage, where we had the aforementioned CM Punk defeating Powerhouse Hobbs. Again, there's been a lot of discourse around this, but I do think that this is, I think this was CM Punk looking very good with one of the younger stars out there. Powerhouse Hobbs is going to benefit from this. He's already benefited from it. Why wouldn't you put a young guy for CM Punk's first TV match back? Why not? I'm convinced there was a lot of people who didn't exactly know who Powerhouse Hobbs was, and he looked great. Sure, there was that weird Hurricane Rana where Powerhouse Hobbs could have died. I thought it was a very solid match. Another good match by Punk. We can still mix it up. And Hobbs looked great. Hobbs really looked great. Came off like the powerhouse he's supposed to be. I liked it. What about this match, though? Adam Cole, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. Right? The Young Bucks and Adam Cole, the Super Click. There's one guy missing. Just pointing that out in the Super Click. There's one guy missing. Defeated Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express. What a fucking match this was. I think that, like, out of the whole Wrestle Grand Slam experience on the 2 nights, I think this was my second favorite match. This ruled. And if there's one thing that AEW absolutely nails on top of its tag team matches, it's its multi-man matches. The 6-man, the 8-man. They're just these fantastic, chaotic but yet controlled marvels where there's just so much stuff happening. And everyone looks good. Everyone does their part. It's just fantastic. And yes, look, I'm going to tell you, everyone wants the trios matches, and I can understand. Look, they have all these factions in AEW. They can pull out the trios, make them happen. The trios titles will become the most exciting. They'll become the most exciting titles in All Elite Wrestling once they decide to pull them out. And I know there's been rumors over the past week that AEW is going to debut new titles. And one of the rumors is that they might be women tag team titles. And you know what? And you guys know, what I'm privy to here. I am much more in favor of the women's tag team titles because I want more women on TV. If you do the tag team stuff, and they've been establishing tag teams. They've been doing the tag team stuff a lot more recently. Tag team titles mean, women tag teams means more women on TV than just 1/4 hour with a one-on-one per week. If it can get more women on television, more women wrestling, and with stakes, let's do it. Let's do it. I want more time for the women on AEW, period. And if they need this kind of gimmick to make it happen, as long as they're not treated like tertiary, forgotten titles, I'm cool with that. Like, I can understand that they don't want to talk about the women's tournament, the women's tag team tournament and medals anymore because Ivelisse, right? And I can understand that it's sort of tainted now. Well, let's start fresh. Have ourselves a tournament. Let's get the titles out there. Let's do shit with the women. When the trios happen, it'll be exciting, regardless. But I mean, this match was awesome. And then we're leading into Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy on Dynamite this week. We're blessed, folks. We're just blessed. Blessed with great wrestling. Blessed with great television. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. It is a world of plenty. that we are living in right now. The G1 is doing great matches for the G1. If you want to follow the G1 with me on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show YouTube page, I've got my G1 reports there. I do coverage. I'm covering it specifically. And then it's also on the podcast as well. God damn, man. Kaylon Wade, I hope I pronounced your name right. Kaylon or Keelon Wade. Welcome to the chat. And yeah, women need more exposure. Black people need more exposure. I completely agree. It's really AEW's biggest flaw. It's its biggest flaw right now. But the problem that you're going to have in the AEW boardroom or wherever it is they meet is they're going to have people advocating for this, saying, well, we should, feature more black talent in top positions in the company. But then they're going to look at the numbers that, Kenny Omega and CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and the like are drawing, and they're going to be, well, it's going to be numbers against goodwill. The one thing that AEW is doing right now is building a lot of goodwill. They're doing that very, very well. But they have to be careful of how this goodwill will be maintained and how they will use it, because it can be eroded. And this is the time, and I hear I hear all this, about black representation, about women representation, and I echo these sentiments, even if as a cis white middle-aged dude, I probably don't have a say in this all that much, other than I echo all of this. But the thing that I like to remind people is that these are the fact that AEW wanted to have. AEW put a lot of this on themselves. They said that they were going to have the greatest women's division and that the women were going to be featured and so on and so forth. We're still waiting for that. They touted how diverse their roster was, and having, Nyla Rose being the first trans wrestler on national television, putting that forward. They're putting this pressure on themselves. They've established, even outside of everything, they said it from the get-go. These are things that were important to them. It's kind of a time to put their money where put your money where your mouth is. Put up or shut up. You're getting more and more viewers. I think it's a good time to take some risks. That's just me. Keelon. Thank you, Keelon. And you see, I see it in the chat, and this is always the thing. It's like, well, who are you going to replace then? Are you going to bench Daniel Bryan? This is never what it's about. It's a wild argument to me, where this is instantly where everything falls back on. It's like, well, then who do you take off TV? Well, who are you not putting on TV that could be in the same position and doing this kind of stuff? You can't be telling me right now that you can't be telling me right now that QT Marshall is bringing more to television than if you were pushing, let's say, Scorpio Sky. Like, this is the thing. Is like, it's ultimately something where it's like, well, if we're going to do this, we have to immediately eviscerate that. That's not what representation is. It's not replacement. It's not overcoming. It's creating a balance, for fuck's sake. It's such a wild argument that it's like, well, who do you take off TV? Well, who do you add on TV? And don't remember, and this is the thing, these are always choices that any promotion makes. These are choices that they make. It's not like this invariable thing, this edict from the gods that, oh, well, now that they started pushing this person, well, they absolutely have to continue pushing them, right? Or else who do you you know, it's wild to me. It's as if suddenly it's like, no, it's whoever's being pushed is going to be taken away because we have to create some kind of because we have to create this level of because we have to put people of lesser talent, but just because they're of another color, that's what's important. That's not it. And the thing is that that's very reductive to think that because it's someone of color, that they're necessarily not as good as the person that they might quote unquote replace. Now be careful what you argue. And also listen to what minorities, women, people of color, black people, listen to what they say, as opposed to sitting down and being entrenched on your positions. Listen to what people have to say. Learn from it and accept that their voice is important. Because if all you do is being like, I just want to cheer for whoever's best. That's not what these people are saying, and their voice is valid. You know, I didn't want to go off on a tangent here. But I did, because I do want to talk about Extreme Rules, so I'm going to continue running down the card. Rampage here. Penelope Ford defeated Anna Jay. Honestly, look, and here's the great duality, right? It's like I want more women on television. I really do. But the whole Bunny, Penelope Ford, Anna Jay, Ty Conchi thing, it's not working. It's not working for me because I don't think the Bunny is someone you want to be pushing for your division when you have the depth that you have now. When you still have Shida, you've got Riho, you've got Jamie Hayter, Ruby Soho. Create your mid-card feuds with other people as well. This didn't quite click to me, and the whole thing's not quite clicking. If this serves, I'll tell you one thing. If all of this serves to fully establish Tay Conchi and Anna Jay as a tag team, because they're fighting on Dynamite, right, this week? Fully establish them as a tag team and as the force to drive this potential women's tag team title stuff moving forward. Fantastic, because I think they're the most they're a tag team that people expect, right? Because they're legitimate friends. There's a little kayfabe storyline around it. I think it's good stuff. I really think it's good stuff. If that's what they want to do, if that's the end game, okay, I can get behind it. Get the new tag team together so that they can squash a couple of jabrones. It's just typical pro wrestling, right? But otherwise, it's just like could be a little better. It's not quite ringing true to me. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley defeated Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki in a good lights out match. But I don't know. I personally, especially knowing the fights that Jon Moxley had with both Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki in New Japan, I was kind of expecting something a little more, I don't know. They hyped it as a lights out. It was brutal, but, it didn't feel like an all-out plunder match. There was something more needed there. It was all right. It was absolutely all right. Fun main event. Like I don't want to dismiss it. It was well worked. It was entertaining, and I was just expecting something a little more brutal. Kind of like the Extreme Rules card. I'm expecting brutality from top to bottom in this Extreme Rules pay-per-view from WWE, the one night of the year at WWE Stars. Get to go extreme. Brutality and wildness. Like last year we had people getting their eyes gouged out. We had people falling into swamps. This year on Extreme Rules, we have one no disqualification match. Because that's what it is. That's what it is. An Extreme Rules match that's all it is. It's a no DQ. Something that we see all the time, but it's an Extreme Rules match. What does that mean other than anything goes? No holds barred, no disqualifications, anything goes. That's what it is. Let's run down this card. Like, this is the tamest Extreme Rules card. This is the tamest Extreme Rules thing. It's like when you go to, I don't know, you go to Subway and you order your a BMT, and then you have them put Chipotle sauce on it, and you're like, it's an extreme BMT, like, because it's still, my God, man. And all the advertising that they've been doing was like, this is the night that things get extreme. We advise our viewers, they sort of play off the fact that it's going to be super violent and savage and whatnot. But there's one match on the entire card called Extreme Rules that has anything to do with extremeness, other than extreme incomprehension that there are no stip matches on this card. Pre-show is going to be Liv Morgan versus Carmela. I could... Hopefully, Liv gets the win. And then I'd probably sit here and say, hopefully Liv gets the win, and then she's able to move on to, but what is there to move on to for Liv Morgan? This is proof to the type of connection that Liv Morgan has with her fans. If she is able, after all these years of being, first of all, jobbed out incessantly, right? If she is able to be jobbed out incessantly and she loses, or her stop pushes, where they sort of give her a little, but then they take her away again and say, oh, then you don't see her for a while, then she comes back and then she's in a bathtub, and then she's wearing Beetlejuice gear, and then she's back to the Riot Squad, and now she's she has these tears. She has tears now, like, because she's it's her career crying. Has the pre-show started? I think it has, right? Let me go. I'm gonna pull this up because this is on the pre-show. My prediction. I'm gonna pull this up as I'm doing this here. Play live. I'm gonna make sure that no audio comes through, because otherwise I'll get struck. Okay. All right, shut up, Booker. All right. So I've got this over here. Oh, Rosenberg is on the pre-show. That's a thrill. So the pre-show is Rosenberg, JBL, Booker, and the Scottish guy. Right? What's his name? I forget. The Scottish backstage microphone. He's so vanilla. If it wasn't for his accent, he'd be entirely forgettable. Anyway, I think Liv is going to win this, but I don't think Liv is going to benefit from this. SmackDown Tag Team Championship, the Usos are taking on the Street Profits. Didn't we see this 3 months ago, 2 months ago? Like, honestly, like at this point, I know it's still part of the podcast, but technically, by the time you're listening to this, Extreme Rules will have happened, and there's no reason for you really to be listening to this part. So I'm just gonna do some live research here, if you don't mind. Let's see. The Street Profits. Oh, there we go. No, that's not it. Sorry. Street Profits. Wait, what? Matches. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. So the Street Profits. You see, okay, so they've been in a feud with the Bloodline for the past couple of weeks. And they had a match where they lost by DQ a couple of weeks ago against the Usos. They won a match. So they won. This is WWE's new thing. Tag team, the title contender matches, right? Where you have to fight the champions, and if you win against the champions, then you get your title shot. So listen, this is on September 3rd. They have their tag team title contender match, the Street Profits, against the Usos, and they win by disqualification, but they win. So then the next week, they have their WWE tag team title match against the Usos. They defeat them again, but by disqualification. So now they're getting the match again, but are they still contenders? Because they had the match. So we're a contender until we actually lose? Is that how it works? Like, man, I mean, this sucks. It's not great. But despite the build, and this is something that I've talked about regarding WWE pay-per-views, sometimes, I mean, I feel it was especially true last year, but I feel like the last few pay-per-views are sort of breaking that mold. WWE in vacuums, if you take their pay-per-views in a vacuum, they're really good. The build, a lot of the times, it's crap. It's garbage. But if you're able to view the pay-per-view like in a vacuum and about itself, they're good shows most of the time. And I'm putting a big caveat here. Most of the time. Street Profits and the Usos here, there's no reason for this match to suck. No reason for this this will not be a bad match. It's just, it's something we've seen. We've seen over and over again, and kind of burnt out on it. Here's a match I'm legitimately looking forward to seeing. United States Champion Damian Priest defending against Sheamus and Jeff Hardy in a triple threat match. Is a triple threat match in Extreme Rules? Is that a stip enough to? I don't think so, because they do that stuff all the time. I don't think it's. Damian Priest right now is being very well taken care of on Raw. I think he's they're doing good work with him. They're putting him in very good matches for Raw, of course. Very exciting. Sheamus, I'm telling you guys, Sheamus is still, he is the hardest worker they have right now, who is and the most consistent. The guy puts out absolutely enjoyable matches day in and day out. Ever since they started letting him be like nasty and not, smiling and all of that, ever since the bar, really, I think Sheamus has had a perfect transformation. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's been working well with Damian Priest. I kind of feel like Jeff Hardy's he's adding a little flavor to this feud, right? Because we've seen Damian Priest and Sheamus as well. So, it's kind of a little something here. And I'm not going to complain with Jeff Hardy being in title matches as opposed to running after the 24/7 title with the geeks on TV. That's Jeff Hardy is a legend, a bona fide living legend in the proper sense of the word, not the WWE definition of it. He should not be relegated to lower, not even mid-card stuff, like acts. It's not even, the whole 24/7 thing is an act. It's not even all that great. It's stupid. This is good. Like, I'm excited to see how this is going to go, because Damian Priest has been, I think he's, as much as he was kind of hit and miss in NXT, he was ready to go on main from the get-go, and I think he's finding his stride. I think he works really well with Sheamus. I'm excited to see how Jeff Hardy makes it all come together here. This should be a good wrestling match. I'm excited to see it. LA Knight should not be in NXT. Get that guy on main. Like, there's no reason for him to be in NXT. He doesn't fit there, especially since the rebrand. He's not useful there. He'll hit his stride on main for sure. Becky Lynch is going to defend the SmackDown Women's Championship against Bianca Bel-Air. I would argue that the Becky experiment is weird. I don't think it's working. I think that, look, all they're doing right now is they're doing exactly, let me try and rephrase this. How about we go down a trip down memory lane? Do you remember when WWE wanted you to cheer for Roman Reigns? When Roman Reigns was supposed to be the top babyface and you were supposed to cheer for him? Everything was designed. All the feuds that Roman was involved in at the time were all feuds that he could win against heels, and everything was designed for him to get babyface pops. Remember that? That was entirely the thing, and you could see through it. It was transparent. Everything that WWE is doing in this feud with Bianca Belair right now is trying to get heat on Becky. When people don't want it, people want to cheer for Becky. You still saw it on Smackdown this week where she comes out and people jump up. You got little girls cheering. You've got the signs. You got big match Becks and people singing along with the song. They try to bring down the crowd volume for the big pop when she comes out, and then they sort of gently bring it back up, and suddenly there's boos, right? The problem that they have here is that since they're focusing on trying to make Becky a heel, they're not building Bianca as a babyface, because Bianca is just there being, my own development, my own heating right now is taking a back seat to whatever the company wants to do with Becky right now. That's where we're at. And it sucks. It's not good. It blows my mind that this is a company that decided, and I've heard the stories that Becky was the one who asked for the heel turn, and just because Becky asked for it doesn't mean it's a good idea. That this company was like, yeah, let's turn Becky Lynch heel, our biggest babyface, the person that everyone is waiting to see come back to the ring. Let's turn her. They thought this was a good idea. They thought this was good. Why would you do that? It still doesn't work. And Bianca is a a star, but she's backseating to this. And she's going to backseat tonight because she's not winning the title back. Because if they were in the business of building stars, like if they still understood how to build babyface stars in this company, the homecoming thing, which was overproduced, there was too much to it. Look at what this other company did with its homecoming crowds. You know, when you had, certain wrestlers come back in their hometowns, in Cincinnati or Chicago. Look at what they did. They just had the wrestler come out, play to the crowd, wrestle a match, win the match, get the big pop. And they brought fucking Glenn Jacobs and the Key to the Town. They had Bianca awkwardly sing her alma mater fight song. But just removing the sincerity of the thing. Overproduced, overthought, and then Becky Lynch coming in to slam her in her hometown because it's such good heat, pal. But it's not good heat, and it's not how you build stars. You have Bianca come out and have her just beat a dude, a girl, this is WWE, in front of her home crowd. Let them get excited, let them get ecstatic about it. Bianca hasn't wrestled once building to this feud. Neither has Becky. Why would you get behind either of this? Why would you get behind this feud? There's no heat. There's no real heat behind it. There's just contrived, fabricated heat. That's all there is. It's ridiculous. Becky's retaining. Don't question it. Becky's retaining. Bianca's going to look good, and then, if we follow typical WWE booking patterns, we'll probably not see Bianca for a couple of weeks. Or, no, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to get another match in Saudi Arabia, and then it's going to be like, oh, first black woman in Saudi Arabia to have a match, or some stupid shit like that, but we're going to run the match again. Or Bianca's going to disappear for a while. Or she's going to pop up once in a while. And it's going to be either or. It's so silly. And in the meantime, they're heating no one up for Becky. Who's being heated up as a contender on the Smackdown brand for Becky? Liv? Who's right now in the ring, as I'm watching right now, listening to Carmela talk? The Raw Women's Championship is also going to be on the line. Charlotte Flair is going to be defending against Alexa Bliss. Okay. The whole doll thing is ridiculous, okay? But I'm going to tell you one thing. Ever since they've toned down the spooky magic with Alexa and sort of pivoted to, Alexa, you're just nuts. You're just crazy. You're batshit crazy. Leaning into a Harley Quinn kind of thing. It's fine. Like, I know people are like, oh, it's just a Harley Quinn. Wrestling has aped pop culture for decades. Again, it's not a big deal. I don't see the problem in it. Ever since they started relaxing on the magic and the stupid, hypnotism, improv warm-up exercises bullshit, I'm not hating Alexa Bliss, and I'm not hating the angle that they took with Charlotte here. It's not bad, and if they continue to keep, the magic shenanigans to a minimum, and they continue playing off of each other in this way, where Charlotte's like, "Where's the bad girl, Alexa Bliss? Who is this crazy weirdo here?" And Alexa's like, I kind of dig it. It's not bad in comparison, right? Like, but, we're going to get there eventually to something that you can really, we'll see tonight. Because you'll notice, we haven't seen Lily blinking or chasing down people, chasing them through corridors and blinking, appearing in mirrors and shit like that. We haven't seen that in a while. If all Alexa is batshit crazy, I'm cool with that, because you know what? She does it well. This match, curious about it. Oh. And finally, the main event. Roman Reigns is going to defend his Universal Championship against the Demon Finn Balor. Not just Finn Balor. The Demon, right? What do you... All right. Okay. I hope everyone is conscious of the fact that, you know, Finn is not losing here, right? Roman is not losing here, right? You know, and this is just a thing where this is the end, right? It's the end of the Demon being like this special invincible thing that Finn pulls out when his back is against the wall and that he'll overcome. I'm, you know, curious to see how far they're going to go with this, but to me, this falls exactly into what WWE was talking about, what Nick Khan was talking about the possibilities of, you know, being marketable. Everything that we're talking about when Karrion Kross came out in his weird, you know, gladiator outfit. He has to be marketable. We have to sell toys. We need to, all that stuff. Well, this is where we're at. This is why they're bringing the Demon back. Oh, well, it's spooky season. Let's bring the Demon back. Halloween. But effectively, the legend of the Demon is going to end, is done tonight. It's not going to happen. There's a reason when Finn Balor fought Brock Lesnar 2 years ago at this point, 3 years ago, I think, when he had that really good match with him, by the way, that he didn't come out as the Demon when he should have. It's because he was meant to lose. You don't want the Demon to lose. Well, the Demon's going to lose tonight. If he doesn't lose, there's going to be some weird non-finish that's going to protect them. But then if you protect everyone, by protecting everyone, you satisfy no one. Roman retains is my point here. That's the point. There you go. I mean, this is the tamest Extreme Rules card of all time. For something that is called Extreme Rules, I've seldom seen something tamer. But this is where we are. I have no idea how this card is going to go down. No Big E, your newly crowned WWE champion. He's nowhere to be found. It's weird. It's so weird. But it's a perfect WWE card. It just makes a lot of sense when you start wanting it to make sense. And that is the end of the weekly wrestling inspection. Well, folks, that was a nice little Sunday stroll down streaming lane, which I enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and gals and everyone in between. Thank you very much for showing up today and for listening whenever you're listening on your own accord. Give the video a like, a thumbs up, all that good stuff. I should be back unless, you know, my health fails me again. I'm starting to feel like a really old man now, but unless I start collapsing upon myself, I should be back. I will be back on Thursday for a regular edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Hope y'all show up. It'll be a good time. But otherwise, in any extent, thank you very much for showing up today, for listening to the podcast. Enjoy Extreme Rules if you're about to watch it. And enjoy everything else in the meantime. I don't know. See you next time.